not a good choice. No, I have told the leader of majority goes into the committee. It is not about who sits in the committee, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I think none of the members who have spoken this afternoon have spoken to the inappropriateness, for instance, of Senator Luale sitting in the committee, no, or any other senator sitting in the committee, no. It is that neither the leader of minority, my learned brother, sitting right here, should have at least convened a Kamukunji, Mr. Speaker, sir. I believe the same for the other side. You should have convened a Kamukunji so that the names that would have found themselves, Mr. Speaker, sir, in the order paper would have been names that at least we knew and that we are aware, Mr. Speaker, sir, that there will be a committee. I will not say, Mr. Speaker, sir, that either method is better. But a plenary, Mr. Speaker, sir, affords members and all members, including first-term members like myself and Okenyuri, Senator Okenyuri, who is also serving here for the first time, and that such a proceeding will afford all members an opportunity table before the Senate. Senator Methu was sharing with me this morning and whispered to me that he would be happy to listen to this proceeding so that a fair impeachment, a fair process of removal under Section 33 of the County Government Act, Mr. Speaker, sir. And this process must be fair. This is the first time, Mr. Speaker, sir, that a woman is appearing before Senate for impeachment. Second time. I think there was a Senate, was Governor Anwar Guru in the last Senate, in the 12th Senate. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the gender card or the gender question may not be the strongest card, Speaker, sir. That a number of 5 for women and 6 for men would have been a fairer balance in this committee. And I speak for women, Mr. Speaker, sir. It is not just because I have been a gender teacher, Mr. Speaker, sir, but I speak to the question of some level of fairness or feeling of fairness of both women and men who sit in the Senate. But I wish to remind Senator Gloria that, Mr. Speaker, sir, should we proceed by way of plenary, she will not have a right to vote at the end of the process. Should an impeachment be made? But at least it is fair, Mr. Speaker, sir, that this be an all-inclusive process. Ultimately, Mr. Speaker, sir, may I say this, Mr. Speaker, sir, that let us as Senate, whether we decide to go by way of committee or by way of plenary, have a process that is fair, that will give Governor Kawira Impeachment an opportunity to defend herself, so that finally, if she's found to have breached the Constitution or found not to have breached the Constitution, it would have been a fair process that would speak to what Senate will do from now and in the future. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, let me point to this. It is not about the 67 members of the County Assembly. And I'm informed, Mr. Speaker, sir, that out of those 67 members, at least 21 of those members are from the UDA party, and another 20 from the Mbas party. That means, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we are facing an impeachment for the first time where the governor serving in that county does not belong to any party because she's an independent. This is therefore a very delicate impeachment. It should not therefore be made to appear, Mr. Speaker, sir, that any singular party in the committee that this House forms is from the party that forms the majority in the county assembly and from the party that therefore was instrumental in the impeachment. So as we form the committee, Mr. Speaker, sir, and this is, for me, this is, since I have no interest in this process, let the committee be a committee that would speak to the fairness of this process. If it is plenary, Mr. Speaker, sir, let the process be fair. That is all I will say with respect to this matter, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 111, in view of the number of senators wishing to speak to this motion, may I propose, subject to your concurrence, that we limit the time per speaker. Currently, we are doing 20 minutes per speaker. And with the number that I'm seeing on the screen, we may go beyond midnight. So with your concurrence, can we limit the time from 20 minutes maybe to 5 minutes? Do I have your concurrence? So clerk, time 5 minutes per senator. Senator Cheptumo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion. Mr. Speaker, this special sitting is to achieve two things. One, to berate the charges preferred against the governor, which we have done. Two, is for this House to decide whether we will proceed through a special committee or the plenary. Mr. Speaker, this is the first impeachment in this Parliament. And so the country is watching, the country is listening. And Mr. Speaker, our function under Article 96 of the Constitution to represent the counties and the county governments. This function today, Mr. Speaker, is in exercise of that particular article. But Mr. Speaker, I want to support the committee way for a very simple reason, Mr. Speaker. If you look at the function of this committee or the plenary, is to investigate the matter. Mr. Speaker, what is to investigate? If you read the Oxford Dictionary, Mr. Speaker, investigate means carry out a systematic, formal inquiry to discover and examine the facts so as to establish the truth. Mr. Speaker, I want to put a question to my colleagues and to this House. If we quote a plenary way, Mr. Speaker, can the plenary, Mr. Speaker, be able to carry out a systematic and formal inquiry? The answer to that question, Mr. Speaker, in my view, is a big no. Will it be able to discover and examine the facts with the intention of knowing the truth? Again, Mr. Speaker, the answer is no. That can be achieved, Mr. Speaker, through a special committee, because they will have a moment, a time to inquire systematically, formally, and discover and examine the facts laid before the committee. Mr. Speaker, there are 7 judges preferred against the governor from the impeachment motion. It will be difficult, Mr. Speaker, for this House, using the definition of that aspect of investigation, to undertake that process and achieve a fair process, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it may be interesting for us to debate this House, Mr. Speaker, this matter. But remember, Mr. Speaker, our whole county is listening. Services and goods and services for the people of Meru County, Mr. Speaker. A Kenyan by the name of the governor is going through this situation. Mr. Speaker, this committee, if approved by the House, will be able to have a better time. Mr. Speaker, that is the reason why I support the committee way. Mr. Speaker, going committee way again does not prejudice members' right to again discuss this matter when the committee tables the report. So none of us, Mr. Speaker, will suffer prejudice of not being able to discuss this matter when the committee brings the report. What is only important, Mr. Speaker, in my view, is for the committee to be fair, to systematically and formally inquire into the issues in a fair manner. Mr. Speaker, this House is a special institution on matters devolution. So that, Mr. Speaker, after this impeachment process, should there be any other impeachment thereafter, Mr. Speaker, we should be seen as a House that is.
Senator Mwinyi Haji Mohamed Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia mswada wa kuchagua kamati maalumu ya kuchunguza madai yaliyoletwa katika bunge hili na kamati na bunge la kaunti ya Meru. Mheshimiwa Spika, kifungu cha 81 ya kanuni zetu kinasema kwamba bunge la Senate linaweza kwenda kwa njia ya bunge lote ama kwa njia ya kamati maalumu ya kuweza kwa yameletwa kwamba jinsia moja imepunjwa katika uteuzi wa komiti hii. Kuna uzito fulani Mheshimiwa Spika, na hatuwezi kuupuuza. Mheshimiwa Spika, pia ipo haja kwamba bunge hili kwa kuwa ni bunge jipya na ni mara ya kwanza swala kama hili linafika katika bunge hili, ipo haja ya wabunge waweze kukaa wa kusikiza, na nimeona leo japokuwa ni kamati maalumu Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kikao maalumu, tumeweza kupata karibu full house. Kila senator ameweza kuacha kazi zake akaja katika kituo hicho, na nina imani kwamba iwapo itafanywa kwamba ni bunge zima likae kusikiza madai haya, bunge hili litaweza kuvunja kazi zao, waweze kukaa hapa kusikiza kuanzia mwanzo mpaka mwisho na uamuzi uweze kutolewa. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa kuweza kuwapa maseneta wapya fursa ya kuangalia masuala kama haya, ingekuwa bora kwa kuwa hii ndio kesi ya kwanza tunasikiza katika masuala ya kuwachunguza magavana, wapewe fursa kupitia kwa kamati ya bunge zima kuweza kuchunguza swala hili, halafu uamuzi utakaotoka itakuwa ni funzo kwa wale ambao hawajapata fursa ya kuweza kuchunguza magavana kama hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo itakayofuata Mheshimiwa Spika, tunaweza kwenda katika kamati maalum, lakini kwa hii, kwa vile ni ya kwanza katika bunge hili, itakuwa bora tuichunguze kama bunge zima la Senate, ili kuhakikisha kwamba kila mtu ameweza kupata fursa ya kusikiza kesi ile. Wale ambao watakuwa wanalala Mheshimiwa Spika, ni jukumu lao, kwa sababu hata sasa pia kuna wengine katika bunge hili wamelala, hawajui kitu gani kinachoendelea. Kwa hivyo swala kwamba baadhi ya maseneta watakuwa hawana hamu ya kusikiza ushahidi, hiyo ni singizio tunakuweza kukataa mfumo huu. Mheshimiwa Spika, vile vile pia hata katika kamati, sisi tunajua kamati zetu nyingi za Senate zikikaa katika vikao ni wachache wanaochangia masuala yaliyoko katika kamati. Kwa hivyo hiyo itakuwa sio mara ya kwanza kufanya hivyo, na tungeomba Mheshimiwa Spika kwamba kwa kuwa hii ni ya kwanza katika bunge hili, tungependa ifanyike katika kikao cha bunge zima, ili tuweze kusoma wale ambao hawajaweza kufuata swala kama hili, nao pia waweze kupata ujuzi ama uzoefu wa masuala kama haya. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, this Parliament has a history. It has tradition of handling emotive, sensitive issues. I want to remind colleagues that when Josiah Mwangi Kariuki was killed, the matter was handled in this very house by a committee. When Robert Ouko was killed, the matter was handled in this house by a committee. Mr. Speaker, when we are dealing with the greatest oversight role of this house, it is discharged through the Committee of Public Accounts and Committee of Public Investments, a committee. It is not by accident that such emotive issues are taken to committees. Today, we are making a decision whether the governor of Meru should be tried. She's on trial. She is on trial whether he should be tried in the committee of the whole or this special committee. Learning from the traditions, customs, and practices of this House, the natural thing would be we drink from the glass of wisdom of the members of Parliament who came before us. Mr. Speaker, my second comment is that the people of Meru are anxiously waiting for what we are doing, and the Republic of Kenya in its entirety. They are glued on the television sets. They want to see and are following what we are doing. They would like to find out, can these senators rise to the apex enough to be trusted, not with listening to the impeachment of a governor, but can they be trusted if a day was to come, God forbid, when they were to sit on the trial of removal of a president? This is what the dress rehearsal is about in the eyes of Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, sir, I kindly request colleagues that if what Senator Gloria has said is true, the person to blame is not us, the plenary. She has a leader of the majority who went through a process that informed him to take certain people on his side and others were left. Let her not bring it here. Same to the minority side. The matter is so important that we would be catwalking if we thought that today we are meeting to make a decision on gender. No. Mr. Speaker, you have read out the charges. Not the first, not the second. None of them is it about gender. It is about issues which we don't know about. Senator, just allow me to finish. I never objected to you.
Senator
Hold my
Gloria,
time.
may the
I
Senator
appeal.
for Kakamega be heard aside.
Yes, I appeal to you. I know you have
Senator,
promised.
proceed. Don't start a debate.
Thank you. Well, I know that she has promised that she wants to school me in matters gender. Really? Really? I was elected by over 250,000 people in Kakamega, men and women, and the women were the majority. So I know issues of gender. I have many children. The majority of them are girls. I know matters of gender. Mr. Speaker, I have more than one wife. I know matters of gender. She can't school me. Excuse me, my daughter. You ought to apologize to the bullfighter of Kakamega.
Order, members. To us,
My last point, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Boni, to us, you're an honorable senator. We don't see you as a bullfighter. Kindly conclude.
Thank you. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I look at the 11 distinguished senators who have made their way on this committee. And Mr. Speaker, I single out Senator Mandago and Senator Ali Roba. If you are forming, Mr. Speaker, just 1 minute, my time was wasted. 1 minute, I conclude.
Senator Gloria, please allow the senator to conclude. Conclude, Senator. I'm afraid, Senator Boni, your time is spent. Senator Edwin Sifuna.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to also contribute to the motion, and for the record, I rise to support the motion that we proceed by way of committee. Mr. Speaker, as I understand the mandate of this committee and has been submitted by my colleagues, is to investigate and find out and report to this House whether indeed the matters, the allegations that you've read out against the governor are substantiated. So that, Mr. Speaker, all this committee is supposed to do, if the accusation is that there has been nepotism exercised by the governor, to report back to this House and say, yes, that allegation has been substantiated. On the question of illegal appointments, yes, it has been substantiated or not. Mr. Speaker, I would also want to encourage Senator Gloria to understand that in fact, if you go percentage-wise, Mr. Speaker, percentage-wise, to have 3 women out of a committee of 11 is actually greater than to have 3 women out of 47 elected senators deciding on a matter. Because, Mr. Speaker, as you know, when it comes to the question of the vote,
Senator Gloria, what is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, my point of order is that there are senators who are misleading the House on facts and on matters numbers. And Mr. Speaker, my point of order, even to Senator Boni Walale and to Senator Edwin Sifuna, is that you cannot come to Senate and actually institute discrimination by trying to convince this House that there is a formula that says that when you have less women at the table of representation, that is the formula that Kenyans should accept because it works best for gender. That is misleading the House. And this is not a matter about bullfighting or how many women or 3 against. This is a matter of representation. And Mr. Speaker, you should not allow the conversations that are going on in this House to continue, because this is a house of order. This is a house that respects women, and this is a house that is supposed to actually ensure that Governor Kawira gets a fair hearing. My point of order is that Senator Edwin Sifuna is misleading the House by trying to tell the House that the formula of 3 women senators against basically out of 11, 3 women senators, that is the best formula to have women represented in this committee. Mr. Speaker, you can see why we have an issue with this. This is exactly the reason why we cannot entrust people who are actually disregarding women in this House. That is my point of order.
Senator Gloria, you cannot stand on a point of order.
It was
to
my
have
point
a
of order.
Right to the sharing. Kindly proceed and conclude. And please allow Senator Sifuna to recover his time.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am not a math teacher, but I will help the House. It is not misleading, Mr. Speaker, because you have the list of the number of women senators elected out of the 47 counties. We only know the senator from Nakuru, my sister from Machakos, and the good lady from Isiolo. What we are saying is, if you do a basic arithmetic, 3 out of 47 is smaller. It's actually 6%. Compared to 3 out of 11 is a bigger fraction. That's what I'm saying. But Mr. Speaker, that being beside the point, let it be known that I'm not trying to mislead this House. I am a firm believer in equality, Mr. Speaker, that in fact, every woman has the same capacity to misconduct herself as the man. So, Mr. Speaker, this is not a question that should be viewed through the lenses of gender. What we want to do, whether we establish the committee or whether we proceed by the whole House, Mr. Speaker, is to find out indeed, is it true, the allegations that have been laid against the governor. In this particular question, we are supposed to be blind. Justice is blind. We do not see color, we do not see gender, we do not see ethnicity, Mr. Speaker. We are just looking at the allegations that have been leveled vis-a-vis the law. Mr. Speaker, I am also a firm believer that in fact there is no grace period for misconduct. You know, the question of how long it should take before you start raising these questions has been raised in a public forum. I have seen people misconduct themselves even with the oath of office when they are taking oath of office, Mr. Speaker. Therefore,
Senator, may the Senator be heard in silence, please.
Thank you,
Senator
Mr. Speaker.
Gloria. Kindly proceed and conclude your contribution.
Mr. Speaker, therefore, what I want to encourage this House, because I was feeling the weight of responsibility as a person who's been proposed to sit on this committee, somebody who's supposed to miss Christmas with his family. But I can see the mood in the House is that maybe all of us should miss Christmas, which is okay for me. I don't have a problem. I am just saying, Mr. Speaker, that I wish I was not part of that committee, that it was Senator Gloria here sitting here to spend her Christmas here. But if you want us all to spend Christmas here, it is also okay, Mr. Speaker. So, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Gloria, we are not in some market in the outskirts of Nairobi. If you need to make a point of order, you press the button. It will be upon the chair to give you the platform or to deny you the platform. Kindly proceed.
Mr. Speaker, can I conclude? Because we were with you here, Mr. Speaker, just a few weeks ago when there were the Yala games going on. And it's a similar thing with the Christmas holidays, Mr. Speaker. We had problems raising quorum in this house, Mr. Speaker, if you remember, because most of the members chose to go to Juba. We are going to have the same problem. These people are just saying here, oh, we want the whole house, we want the whole house. But we know the members of this house who are committed to come and actually prosecute matters here, Mr. Speaker. So we might have better success. Mr. Speaker, I need your protection. Mr. Speaker, I need your protection. Because this is something we have experienced, Mr. Speaker. That in fact
Senator Sifuna, just take a seat. Honorable Senators, it is not the wish of the chair to send any senator out of the chambers. But that's my wish, and may not necessarily carry the day today. The standing orders will carry the day today. Senator Gloria, I'm cautioning you under Standing Order 121. Should you proceed in the manner you're proceeding, I'm afraid the standing orders may have their way. Conclude, Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The point that I was making, Mr. Speaker, is previous experience has shown that in fact we might get a lot more work and ground covered in committee than in plenary because of the issues that I have raised regarding the question of quorum. So, Mr. Speaker, to just conclude and allow my colleagues to also contribute, I rise to support this, and not because I'm a member of that committee. I would very happily cede this particular position to anybody else who wants to release me to go and have Christmas with my children. It will not be a bad thing, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Senator Methu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would first wish to state that I rise to support the motion of having 11 of us look at the evidence that has been brought by the County Assembly of Meru. And first and foremost, Mr. Speaker, I would really wish to state that all of us in this Senate, we enjoy the same space and the scope of duty. And I believe, having looked at the members who are there, I'm completely satisfied that they'll be able to take up on this job. I am particularly impressed, Mr. Speaker, that the Senate Business Committee and the leader of majority and leader of minority have given especially first-timers and young people an opportunity to serve in this committee. I have seen my colleagues, the Senator Karongo Adhangwa, I have seen Senator S.C. Okenyuri, I have seen Senator Eddie Gicheru. The young people who are ambitious and they want to learn, and they will be able to tap into the experience that has been spoken about by my brother Senator Giduku. I hear by extension that Senator Sifuna is a young man. I don't know. I only hear that he's a young person. Although he does not appear to be what people impute, but anyway, I will include him in that list of the young people because he's also coming in as a first-timer. Mr. Speaker, I would also wish to say this. In as far as we are looking at this matter, it is not really fair for anybody to impute that because the governor for Meru is a woman, they are supposed to be given special consideration. That the other time that the governor for another county will be a man is here, then he can be allowed to be dealt with by the Akina Medus, Akina Redama, Akina Charagays of this world. There's no problem. Because this one is a woman, then we should treat her and put more women in it. Then I would say that the other time that we have a man, then probably men would demand that all of us would be in that committee so that we're able to also take care of the men. I am personally a gender-sensitive person. I do not need the schooling that was offered by our colleague. I actually did it from home. I'm a father of 3 girls and 1 boy. So I think the rest ones are just around my home. I'm able to look at and take care of them. Finally, Mr. Speaker, it is actually, and the Senator for Nairobi has spoken about it, it's actually that our colleagues are taking the burden off our shoulders. It is them that will be able to look at, and I've seen the charges, there are so many. They are supposed to look at all the charges one by one and look at the evidence that is being adduced one by one, and then they will be able to make a determination on whether the charges are correct or not correct, there are facts to it or no facts to it. And so our colleagues, the 11 that will be in that committee, I would wish to wish you all the best. It is quite unfortunate that you not be able to enjoy Christmas with your people, but it is the cost of service. That is why you run for positions. That is why you are allowed to serve as senators. I know the leader of majority has said that from the conduct, I don't know what lenses the leader of majority is using. He's saying that in his own preliminary observations, we may be getting more customers in the coming days. I would really hope that we do not get customers for the next 5 years, because the more customers we get, the more unstable our counties are getting. So, Mr. Speaker, I support. I wish the committee all the best. I will be here to help you and support you in whatever support you require, and I might actually offer to come as a friend of the committee, because I'm not I'm just a neighbor. Nyandaro is just here. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Omtata.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for the opportunity to address this honorable House. First and foremost, I would like to correct an impression created by Senator Halwale that this is the president. It is not. Somebody's life and the consequences of an impeachment are not a rehearsal. Somebody is banned from public office for life. So please, this is not a rehearsal. This is a matter of life and death for the Senator of Meru, Governor of Meru. I am entertained. Now, secondly, there is a matter of life for the Governor of Meru, and we should give it the seriousness it deserves. It's not a rehearsal.
What is the point of order, Senator Cheptumo?
Mr. Speaker, the Senator for Meru seated here. It is scaring for the member to say it is a matter of life and death for him. Mr. Speaker, this is a house of record. The Senator of Meru is not in any danger. Isn't it fair, Mr. Speaker, for him to withdraw that part of the... I think it is important.
Senator Omtata, kindly do not instill fear in your statement.
I think the Honorable Senator Cheptumo had taken a nap, because I withdrew and corrected. So he had taken a nap and he missed my withdrawal. But it's understandable, we are around Christmas. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I withdrew. Or may I say, Mr. Speaker, sir?
Cheptumo, may the Senator be heard in silence, please.
For the benefit of my friend Cheptumo, I withdraw and apologize profusely to the Deputy Speaker. And to him for having missed out on what I said earlier. So, when I proceed, Honorable Speaker, I think the problem we are having in this House is that the text of Standing Order number 80, clause 1B, and I think Professor Ojenda touched on it. What is disturbing some of us is the process, being called into this House to endorse a list. What I would suppose, and that's why I'm opposing this motion partially, that list should be trashed, and the Senate by resolution makes the list if we have to go the committee way. I agree with leadership in the House, but then they don't say the leadership of the House shall. It says the Senate shall. You may be having a practice that has been going against the standing orders, and they should end here. Secondly, yes, niko kwa chamba mtu mmoja.
Senator, just proceed and make your contribution.
So, my Lord, Mr. Speaker, sir, if I conclude, the committee process, much as it has been praised here, we have the evidence of what happened in the impeachment of Governor Kawira. And
Senators, can we hear Senator Mtata in silence, please? Proceed.
And there were heavy complaints that the committee process did not work. In the Sonko impeachment, the committee was abandoned. It came back to the plenary. So, I would really say that we should be allowed under order number 38 to have a small break where we can have a kamkunji and then we agree on the way forward. So I'm requesting that under the 38 we be given a kamkunji.
The request is declined. Senator Sigei Hillary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support this motion, and for very few but very important reasons. Mr. Speaker, we have heard from the people who have spoken to the reasons as to why we go for the committee or for the plenary. And as I do that, Mr. Speaker, I want to dissuade the House from the notion that while the majority leader and the minority leader was asking the House to support the motion, they played to the mind of the fact that plenary might not necessarily be able to do a detailed discussion on the matter. I am aware that the whole House comprised of senators who are competent enough. They can read, they can write, they can analyze, they can synthesize the issues as per the charges which you read before the floor of the House today. That, however, Mr. Speaker, cannot be deemed to be the reason as to why we would go for committee or the plenary. I want to support the committee for the reason that out of experience, there is much that can be done by 11 people and not by 47 people or 67 senators. The 11 members who have been selected by the House leadership comprise competent women and men who will be able to distill on the charges that has been placed before the House. And Mr. Speaker, ultimately, it is not in the place of the committee to make decisions on behalf of the plenary. I think it should not be lost on us that at the end of the session that the committee that has been selected have debated and come up with a report, it is the plenary that will make a decision on the basis of the report that that committee will have presented before the House. Mr. Speaker, as I support further, for purposes of the comfort of the women senators here, I would equally like to bring to the attention of the Honorable Senator Gloria Orwoba that the women and men in this House are all equal. We cannot speak on one side hot and cold, saying that we are equal, and on the other side saying the lesser the number, we are unable to advance the interest of the other gender. I am convinced that the team that has been picked has not necessarily been picked on the basis of the gender. They have been picked because they are senators, they are qualified, they are members of this House, and they are able to prosecute the issue that is before the Senate. And for her comfort, therefore, the 3 members of the committee are competent enough, and they will be taking the issue beyond the gender. They'll be discussing the issue beyond the gender of either themselves or the candidate who is the governor of the county of Meru. If, Mr. Speaker, we take our emotions beyond the issues which we are supposed to discuss, we will, as a matter of fact, forget about the charges and deal with whether it is a woman or a man. Mr. Speaker, I support the setting up of the committee because at the end of it all, we will, as a House, pass at the plenary the report, discuss it, comment on it, whether they have met the threshold or not. And Mr. Speaker, the choice that the leadership made was not plucked from nowhere. It is provided for in the standing orders of this House, and that choice has been given for the reason that it is better because the people of Meru, the country, is looking up to this House to make a just decision on the charges that have been brought against the governor of Meru. And Mr. Speaker, I support the motion. I thank you.
Senator Kenyo.
Asante Bwana Spika. Kwanza kabisa nataka kushukuru kwa kunipa fursa hii. Na mimi nasimama kuunga mkono ya kwamba tuende kutumia kamati. Kisa na maana Bwana Spika ni kwa sababu kamati itaweza kuangazia shutuma ambazo zimewekwa dhidi ya yule governor, wataziangazia kwa undani. Kwa sababu sisi maseneta wote wakati mimi nimekuwa hapa kuanzia mhula uliopita. Na Bwana Spika, wakati tulifanya hii impeachment kwa njia ya kamati nzima, kwa njia ya seneti nzima, hatukuweza kuangazia yale maswala kwa kindani Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo siku ya leo Bwana Spika, mimi nataka kuunga mkono kamati kwa sababu wale walio katika kamati ile ni watu ambao ni wazoefu katika kazi zao. Ukiangalia kama magavana walioko, uangalie gavana Mandago, sasa ni senator, uangalie gavana Roba, hawa ni watu ambao walibombea katika ile kazi ya ugavana. Kwa hivyo masuala yatakayokuwa yakiongewa pale wataweza kuyafahamu kwa undani kabisa. Angalia maseneta wa kike ambao nimesikia hapa kukiwa na vugu kidogo, maseneta wa kike hawakujumuishwa. Bwana Spika, huu itaonekana sisi hatufahamu mambo vizuri kwa sababu maseneta walio hapo hakika wamejumuishwa. Angalia seneta Tobiko amewekwa pale na yeye ni mzoefu, amekuwa katika siasa miaka mingi. Angalia tuna seneta ambaye anaitwa Esther, tuna seneta Kavindu Bwana Spika. Wale ni watu ambao wataweza kuyachanganua haya maswala. Mambo ya kuambiwa kwamba kutakuwa na mambo ya kuangalia jinsia, hatutakuwa kukiangaliwa jinsia, tutaangalia yale tuhuma zilizoletwa za yule governor. Na yale mambo yatakayoangaliwa na viongozi hawa watakuwa wakiangalia kwa kindani na kipana. Watu wa Meru wangelitaka nini Bwana Spika? Kwa sababu watu wa Meru ndio waliofanya uchaguzi ule. Lakini baada ya haya masuala yote Bwana Spika kuangaliwa, sisi kama bunge tutaitwa wote tuweze kusema ya kwamba haya masuala yaangaliwa kivipi, na kwa sababu tuna jukumu lingine tutapata fursa ya kuweza kuangalia ikiwa hii kamati yenyewe itaona kuna mambo ambayo kutakuwa na dosari fulani ama kuna tuhuma moja ambayo wameona ni mbaya. Nina hakika tukiwa na Senator Sifuna ambaye najua ni mzoefu wa mambo ya kisheria, ninaona kuna vijana, ukiangalia kama kuna Kechi na Kamau, hawa ni watu Bwana Spika, sijui ni kwa nini mtu yeyote, maseneta wote walio hapa, pengine kile ambacho wangetaka, kwa sababu ndio nimewasikiza wengine wanasema ya kwamba ati ikifanywa ile impeachment ikifanywa katika jumba hili, tukifanya tukiwa wote, ati ya kwamba tutajua masuala yanavyoendelea. Bwana Spika, hakuna jambo linafanywa katika seneti, katika kamati bila kuandika. Hawa ndugu zetu wataandika yote ambayo wamesema na yale ambayo wamefanya. Na kwa sababu wanaseneta wote hapa ni wasomi Bwana Spika, mimi najua wataweza kusoma na kujua, watasoma hata zaidi. Lakini kile kimenistua Bwana Spika ni kwamba nimemsikiza senator wa kutoka Busia Bwana Spika. Senator wa kutoka Busia anataka kuleta matata, Bwana Spika, akiwa ni Senator Mtata, kwa sababu ameleta mambo mengine mapya ambayo anataka kutuelekeza, kutuambia kwanza tusimame shughuli za bunge, tufanye mikutano ya Kamukunji na maandamano. Bwana Spika, hatutaki mambo kama hayo. Sisi siku ya leo, Bwana Spika, tunamaliza hii shughuli. Pengine kama kutakuwa na Kamukunji ni baada ya masaa yaliyowekwa katika seneti hii, lakini kutuambia tutoke kando kutufanye hiyo, Bwana Spika, atakuwa akiongoza seneti hii katika shughuli ambazo sisi hatujazizoea. Lakini namkubalia kwa sababu pengine ndiye anajifunza mambo ya seneti, amekuwa akishughulika katika koti. Mimi yeye na samahani kwake, Bwana Spika, hata nimesikia akikuita jaji, wewe ni Bwana Spika. Asante Bwana Spika.
Wambua.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to make a comment and contribute to this motion. And from the word go, Mr. Speaker, I want to state emphatically that I support the motion. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I'll be very brief, is to congratulate the members that have been appointed to sit in the committee. When you look at the names that have been floated by both the majority and the minority leaders, the Speaker, the names of people that are very, very competent in very, very many fields. And it is always good, Mr. Speaker, that when you're dealing with a matter as a Senate, it's always important to look at individual competencies of members that you appoint to committees so that they can bring some expertise and decisional memory into the matter under discussion. Next time, Mr. Speaker, there will be an issue to deal with the media. I want to advise the leadership on both sides to consider including Senator Enoch Wambua in that list, because I am a journalist of long and good standing. It is rare to say that to have two former governors in this committee brings on board expertise on matters governance. And the issues being challenged here are issues to do with governance. Not many of us here have been governors, Mr. Speaker. It's a privilege for this Senate to have Senator Roba and Senator Madago seated here as former governors, because when there are issues of governance, then they come in not just as senators, but as resource persons on matters governance. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of procedure, because I think that's where I see some bit of deviation between those who support and those who don't support. Mr. Speaker, I will invite us, all of us, including myself, to honestly and seriously study and understand the third schedule of our own standing orders dealing with matters of the removal of a governor by way of impeachment. The Speaker, that schedule is very, very explicit. It has two parts. There is a part that deals with using the plenary way of impeachment. And if you allow me, the Speaker, to make reference, Rule 28 of the last schedule it states very clearly that except as otherwise provided in these rules, or as the Speaker may for exceptional reasons to be stated determine, the proceedings of the Senate for the hearing of evidence shall be held in public. The Speaker, that is on the first part that deals with plenary. On the second part that deals with the select committee, Rule number 29 the proceedings of the committee of the hearing of evidence shall be held in public. So there is no jeopardy suffered anywhere, whether we go plenary or we go the committee way. On the issue of the names, the specifics of the names, the Speaker, there are only 11 slots. It is not possible that we go the plenary, the committee way, and every senator is a member of that committee. There has to be 11 senators who will be members of the committee, and the rest of us will sit back and receive the report from our colleagues. We will have an opportunity to speak to that report. The Speaker, it is important that as we debate the way to go, we are properly guided by our own standing orders, so that we don't even create wrong impressions that perhaps we don't really understand.
Senator Joyce. Senator Joyce.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to support the motion that has been brought by the able majority leader on the issue of choosing the way to proceed to the trials of the impeachment of governor from Meru County. Honorable Speaker, I've had my colleagues debate and share a number of experience, and I want to say this, Honorable Speaker, that the reason why we support the committee is because, Speaker, despite the fact that the list has been named, any member from this House is not denied or restricted to go and follow the proceedings of that particular committee. Honorable Speaker, I also want to say that it is good as now that the Senate is fully constituted. We have former MCAs, we have former speakers, we have former governors, and I want to say that the list that has been brought up by either the majority or minority is a list that consists of members who are competent enough to assist us in terms of bringing up a report that can be tabled in this House and can allow members to ventilate on it and have a conclusion. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, I just want to say that the honorable members of the County Assembly have a right to do the oversight role, and that is why they have done whatever they have done. The honorable governor has a right also to be heard. The members or the public or the members of the public from the Meru County have a right to be served, Honorable Speaker. So the only House that can assist them to be able to get the right service and to be able to have everyone play his role or her role is through the Senate, Honorable Speaker. So I don't want to say much, but I just want to say, Honorable Speaker, we support the committee way to be able to start this trial. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Onyonka.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to, excuse me, I'm having a flu, so my voice is not very good. I would like to say just a few words in my contribution to this matter. And the reason for that is that the expectation of Kenyans on this matter is very high. And the reason for that is that this is going to be the first impeachment motion that is going to be tabled on the floor of this House, or rather tabled at the Senate. What I would wish for is that we take the evidence as it will come and we analyze it effectively, honestly, and with fairness, Mr. Speaker, so that the presentations that will be made should be a reflection of fairness and should be a reflection of the true issues that have happened in Meru,
Because indeed, Mr. Speaker, what you see actually happening in Meru is not that it's not happening in other areas. There are certain substantive issues that have come up in some of the county governments. But indeed, when you look at the 47 counties, I would say out of the 47, maybe 3 or 4 could be having a problem. Mr. Speaker, I don't have a problem at all having the committee that has been selected so that they can then interrogate this issue effectively and make sure that we come to the conclusion of this matter fairly, where Governor Kawira is handled with dignity and decency, and where also the members of the county assembly, because their responsibility is to oversight the governor. Mr. Speaker, the other issue I wanted to raise is that we have borrowed heavily from the American system. If you look at what happened when Donald Trump as president was being impeached, it was the whole House that actually discussed him, that actually tabled the evidence, and that put that evidence on the floor, and the members then of Congress had to vote to decide whether he was guilty or not. When you come to the issue of January the 6th, then there was a deliberate committee. The reason for that is that the committee had to have expertise, the committee had to have people who are going to analyze the issue point by point to make sure that the matter that was going to be discussed didn't get lost. I actually was going to be against this motion, Mr. Speaker. I would like to say that for now, I want to support the motion. I hope that whatever deliberations you have at the committee level, make sure that those deliberations are fair, and make sure that the people of Meru get what they deserve, including my able senator, the Deputy Speaker of this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Chiranke.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. One is that I rise to oppose this motion, Mr. Speaker, on 3 facts. History will judge us harshly. All impeachment proceedings that have gone to committee have become negative. They have become like laundry processes where governors who accusations are faced have come back. And many people are not correcting this, Mr. Speaker. I want, for the benefit of new members, if the committee sits and they find out that the charges are negative, that matter rests there. So I want to advise my colleagues who are excited that this matter will come back and they'll have a second bite of the cherry. They are not lucky. Mr. Speaker, when you look at Section 33 and Standing Order number 80, the issues that have been raised by Meru, MCS, Mr. Speaker, and other stakeholders is a weighty matter, Mr. Speaker. I want each and every senator, we sit in plenary. It becomes a learning process. We question. Mr. Speaker, the impression that we are creating outside there is that 11 are better than 67, which is not the position. Because, Mr. Speaker, in that plenary session, you will be the one presiding over. Unless we are casting aspersion outside the 11 members by saying the 11 members are better than others, Mr. Speaker. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, because I'll only make 3 points. The selection process, there was no consultation. When Jubilee was in power, we fought the same thing at that time. Because people were being elected, selected, and there was no consultation. What happened? It became very bad. And I want to ask my brother, Senator Eddie, don't travel this part. It is very costly and slippery, as the Bible says. Mr. Speaker, number 4 is when you look at Section 33. Unless, I've had people saying, I don't have a problem with my colleagues, my brother, Senator Mandago and Senator Roba. They are qualified. Unless you are telling us who are former butchers that we are not qualified to sit simply because we were selling meat. We were butchers in Mosoria Trading Center. We are not qualified to sit there. These members, including my sister, Senator Crystal, can sit in that committee. Mr. Speaker, this is a travesty of injustice. And my worry, the people of Meru shall not receive justice. Either Meru will hang on the strings of guitar, or in the words of Beyond Politics, a conversation with Kraito Murungi, who described the accused as a political fraud, both religion and political. Number 3, or we give them the skunk the way they came with it.
But as a senators, we protect devolution. How can we tell the nation we are protecting devolution when we have relegated our role to 11 people because we simply want to go for Christmas? Mr. Speaker, history will judge us harshly. I have no problem. All these people are competent. But the process on how it was
What is the point of order,
I hope
Senator
you will hold my time, Mr. Speaker.
What is your point of order, Senator Joyce?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I just wanted to know whether the Honorable is in order to mislead this House that unless their names are in the list, that is when they can talk of having the committee transact the trials. Because he is alleging that because he was a butcher, he is not in the list. Is he in order, Honorable Speaker?
Chirange, is it true that you are a butcher before you made it here?
Mr. Speaker,
conclude, please.
Some of us who have come from harsh background, we had to do everything to survive. And with tremendous respect to my sister, I don't want to respond along that line. My concern is this. Let us stand with the people of Meru. I want Governor Kawira to receive justice. I want the people of Meru to receive justice. I want MCS to receive justice. But Mr. Speaker, if we allow this motion to pass, this will be the greatest injustice that will ever be presided at the inaugural stages of this Senate, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we don't have a doubt. Then in future, anything that concerns counties, we should send the former governors to go and do it. And then we go and sleep. We go and sleep, Mr. Speaker, if that is the situation. Because even you, Mr. Speaker, you should have said in that committee. Mr. Speaker, they refer to former governors.
What is your point of order, Senator?
Hold my time.
Is it in order, Senator Cherargei, to make a statement? We are here in our capacity as popularly elected, constitutionally mandated senators to execute the functions of Senate as so required by law. Is it in order by Senator Cherargei for him to make any reference contrary to that by way of saying in future we will delegate mandates to former governors to do? We are here in substantive capacity as a senator, just like you, mandated legally, just like you, to execute our mandates legally, just like you. Is it in order? Thank you.
Chirange, I know you've been in this house. You should be serving your second term. And you must be familiar with the basic standing orders. That when a member rises on a point of order, you yield. You sit down. It's very express in the standing orders. So kindly abide by the rules.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker.
On the point of order,
yes.
Indeed, to that extent, you're out of order. Kindly retract that statement and proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I don't want to give credit and contempt to what Senator Roba said. In conclusion, it is always good to stand
Senator
when we are on the right to always
Senator
see what it means.
Chirange,
yes, Mr. Speaker.
You've made a statement
yes.
to the extent that in future, any matters touching on counties, we can as well just send governors, former governors. It is that statement that you need to retract.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, I think it is a fact that there are former governors who are senators in this house. And I said maybe. It doesn't mean that they can never be in any committee. I didn't say they shall be, Mr. Speaker. So I think the answer should bear me.
Senator Wamatinga and Senator Chirange, with that way of prosecuting business, you will be finding yourself not in the best position going forward. I am not threatening you. I am telling you as the chair, I'm cautioning you, a power that has been given to me by the standing orders. Senator Wamatinga.